You are holy and blameless before the Lord because of who you are in the Spirit. That is good news, folks. But unless you believe it, it's not going to do you any good. You have to believe this stuff. You have to say, yes, I hear it, I understand it, and I'm just going to go ahead and believe it. Like, what have you got to lose? Hello and good morning. I want to welcome you to Arrested and Free. My name is Julianne Harris, and praise God, I've been arrested by God's goodness, by His grace, by His love, and by His mercy. And I've been set free from fear and pain, anxiety, discontentment, and all the negative things that can happen to us in life. I've been set free from. Today is August the 21st in the year of our Lord 2022, and as you can tell, I am in a different setting. So I traveled up to my family's in Montana for the week and didn't have time to record before I left. And so, we're down to the last hour before Sunday morning when my videos come. And so here we are. This is my mom's little prayer corner, and I thought, what a great spot for me to record this week's video. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up where I've left off. This is kind of in the series that I've been teaching of Rooted and Grounded. Remember, we're talking about being rooted and grounded in God's love for us. And out of that comes the fruit of being a Christian, comes the fruit of our life. Honestly, if we aren't rooted and grounded in God's love for us, and you're like, what does that mean? I picture it like it says in Psalms, that it's like a tree planted by living water. And what happens is that in its season, it bears fruit. And so it's only because the leaves won't wither, nothing dies if you are rooted and grounded in God's love for you. And so, as the body of Christ, we really have to settle it in our hearts that we cannot earn God's love. We don't deserve God's love. But God is love, and that's why we have His love. And the more we get rooted and grounded in that, the more we have our roots and our belief system and everything plugged into that. That's what I'm talking about. You're rooted, you're grounded, you're strong. When the storm comes, you don't waver, you don't fall apart like a dead, old, dried up tree. No, because your roots are tapping into nourishment and it's coming out, and it's amazing. So Rooted and Grounded is my main series that I'm doing, but I've kind of tapped into something else, and so it's Rooted and Grounded, but within that series I'm also talking about believe and trust. And so believe, trust, and moments is what I should say. Trust and moments is what I was talking about the last 2 weeks, because each story in the Bible, if we look at the Bible, yes, there is, it's a lifelong love letter of different individuals that God had a relationship with, but the majority of the Bible is written in moments. It's the moments like I've been talking about with Abram. It's the moments that God had with Moses. We know those moments, and those are the moments that we glean from, that we take from. If you even look at like the woman that was caught in the issue, or that the woman that was caught in adultery, and that was a moment between her and her Savior. If you look at the woman that was healed from the issue of blood, it was a moment. All the hubbub, all the craziness that was going on in that moment, Jesus was heading to Jairus' house to heal his daughter. And so people are thronging him. People are coming at him, trying to just touch him. And she came up to him and in faith touched him, and she was healed in that moment. And all of a sudden, we have this whole moment of time that is almost suspended. I say all of that because we have moments in time that are suspended for us. But a lot of times we don't notice it, and most times it's moments that we don't really want to remember because they're not that good of a moment. And so my heart in talking about living life in the moment is that we, on purpose, will focus and rest and set upon the good moments that happen to us. Because listen, there are more good moments than there are bad moments, but a lot of us aren't remembering those good moments. A lot of us are not allowing our destiny and walking in the purpose of our life to be formed by the good moments. A lot of us allow the plan and the walk and the path that we walk in life to be formed and shaped by our bad moments. What does that mean? That means that when you're walking in this direction and you're like, I'm heading over there, you are choosing to remember the bad moments that happened in the past. So now you're walking along this path in fear, in looking and being like, ooh, what was that moved on the side of the road? That's probably a snake, because I remember back there was a snake and it almost killed me. See, these moment-to-moment situations we find ourselves in, either we're going to remember the good ones or we're going to remember the bad ones. And that is going to shape how we walk forward. So, if you fail a lot in life, and listen, I've had a lot of failures in life. And now I can see why they were failures, but I don't think about those failures anymore. Why? Because I'm rooted and grounded in God's love for me. I know the purposes and the plans that He has for me. And so now as I'm walking down this path with God, yeah, is there junky stuff that happens? Absolutely. We live in a fallen world, folks. So if you don't have some junk happening to you, just give it a little time. Because it's going to. And like I always say, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but really at the end of the day, it's truth. We live in a fallen world. Bad things happen. But as we're walking down this path, and we know that because we're rooted and grounded in God's love for me, so then it say a piece of junk happens to us, and we were not a part of it, like we didn't cause it to happen, then we're like, what's going on, God? But in that moment, if you're rooted and grounded, then you're like, okay, but I know my God. And I remember the good moments of the past. I remember when another piece of junk happened to me and God delivered me radically. See, if we don't remember these moments, then we are not going to have confidence moving forward. Then any little thing that comes at us, any little wind, any little whiff of bad that comes at us, we're falling apart. And we're like, God, why? How am I going to survive this one, God? And meanwhile, God's going, man, do you not remember the hundreds, if not thousands of moments that we've had together when I've said, it's okay? Have you not read in the Word the hundreds, if not thousands of times where God appears on the scene and says, fear not? Even in that story of the woman with the issue of blood, it was, this is a great example. Jesus was on the way. Jesus was on the way to go heal Jairus' daughter, and this woman stopped him. Jesus could have felt the virtue come out of him and just continued on, because guess what? We got busy. We got a schedule. We got to keep running here, folks. Otherwise, I'm not going to get this ministry done in 3.5 years. No, he stopped. And in that moment, he turned to her. And you can look at that and say, well, now, it's giving more time that Jairus' daughter could die. Listen, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, however long this transaction between Jesus and the woman with the issue of blood happened, didn't matter here nor there at the end. Because guess what? After he gets done talking to the woman with the issue of blood and he takes off, the servant was already coming. Listen, the servant was coming who knows how long before this encounter, this moment between Jesus and this woman happened. The daughter had already died. Do you see what I'm saying? Sometimes we can get so wrapped up into, we gotta go, gotta get there, gotta hurry. And I'm talking to myself, you guys. I am that person. I definitely am. I'm like, oh man, I really don't, do I have time for this conversation? Yes, I have time for the conversation. The world is not going to fall apart if you take a 10, 15, half-hour moment with someone, moment with God, God is still going to take care of it, just like Jesus did in this story. And when they got back to going towards Jairus' house, and the servant comes and says, don't bother the master anymore. Your daughter is dead. What did Jesus say? Jesus wasn't like, shucks. I guess I shouldn't have spent that time with the woman with the issue of blood. I guess I should have just hurried on through the crowd. No. Jesus said, fear not. He looked at Jairus and said, fear not, believe only. Only believe, you guys. Only believe. And then moment to moment, you are going to get there. Man, I'm not even getting to where I want to talk about today, but I just feel like we really need to slow it down. I think back to like when my grandma grew up. She was born in the early 1900s. I think my grandpa was born in 1919 or something like that. And it was a different life then. They didn't have Facebook. They didn't have, Instagram. They didn't have 250 TV channels. They didn't even have a TV. They didn't even have running water. Some of us now, we can't even imagine. But you know what? That generation was more content than any generation anybody we have right now. And this stuff, these jobs, these running to and fro, this stuff has caused us to step into like a warp speed to where we're just running. And that's something that's blessed me about coming back home this week, is that I came home and I was planning on working. There's a lot of stuff to it, but it's like I'm so used to running a warp speed of like email, do this, do that, meeting, and then I come here, which is kind of like stepping back in time a little bit, and it's about family. And so my brother comes over and he wants to talk, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I got all these things to do. And this week was really good for me to just be like, wait, no, you know what? I'm here to see family. And so I'm going to close the laptop, I'm going to stop with the emails, and I'm going to enjoy this moment with my brother and my mom and dad, period. And we need to do more of that, you guys, because out of that, then when everybody goes about their way again, I can open up that computer and now I'm full focused. I can really get stuff done. And then guess what? If somebody else stops by, I can close that computer and I'm more efficient. I'm more productive when I take those moments. You guys, some of you guys are running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And some of you folks may not know what that looks like, but I do personally. And it's scary, but that's how we are. So let me explain to you. There is a reason. Maybe some of you guys have never heard that terminology, but where I come from, because I'm a country girl, we raised chickens at one time when I was growing up. And so you raise chickens for what? Well, for eggs and to eat them. Chicken does not just come from the store. Chicken comes from a chicken that grows up somewhere, okay? And so anyways, I remember I must have been in, I don't know, second or third grade. And it was time to butcher the chickens. And it's a little traumatic at that young age. I'm like, how much should I share with you? But you know what? I might as well go. I know some of you guys really comment on how you love the stories. Because a lot of you guys weren't raised that way. Some of you were. And if you were raised that way, please let me know. Leave a comment. So anyways, it was time to butcher the chickens. So what you do is you got like a big piece of log that's, or a stump or something like that. And you take two nails and you nail them in side by side. So it's kind of, I'll explain. And then you leave them sticking out about this high. Then what you do is you go in the chicken coop, you catch yourself a chicken, and you bring the chicken out, and you now stick the neck in between those two nails that you've logged in, that you've hammered into the stump, okay? So you stick the chicken's neck in there, so you got a head on one side of the nails, and you got the body on the other, and then you have an axe. Yes, I know, this is kind of brutal. Maybe this should be PG-13. You have an axe and you chop off the head. Okay, so what happens is you hold on to the head most of the time, or however you can get her done, get her done. You chop off the head, and then the body takes off. Literally, you guys, it is crazy because the body is still reacting, the body's still jerking, the muscles are spasming, and even without the head, so you have the body of a chicken that's running around, and this is how it runs. It runs over here, and then it falls over, and then it gets back up, and it runs over here, and then it just runs all over the place. It's helter-skelter. It doesn't run in a straight line. It's just like, it's all over the place, and at a fast pace. It's traumatic as a second grader. I'm not gonna lie. I can picture where the whole scene was that we did this over and over again, and it seemed like the body without the head was chasing me. That's what it felt like, because they just run all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason to it. That's what I mean when I'm saying we're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. There's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no purpose. And while we think we're being productive, we're not, because we're over here, we're over there. Oh, we got to go over here. And all of it starts in our mind, because our minds are helter-skelter. Our minds are like a chicken with its head cut off, running to and fro and around and falling down. And then, we have a day of depression, or we have a few hours of depression. Then we're like, no, we're back up. It's nutso, and that is not how we were intended to live life. It is so substandard, subpar to what Jesus died for us to have, you guys. So while this message is not coming out at all like I wanted or I thought it would go, but remember, I'm stepping out and believing and trusting and having no script. I'm obeying Jesus's orders, just so you know, because I have no script right now. I can't believe I'm spending time talking about a chicken with its head cut off. But is that you? Is that you? Do you wake up in the morning and you think, I have 50 different routes to take today, and I'm going to do all of them, praise God? You can't do 50 different things. Man, they say that, I read this article about like highly successful, productive people. Every morning they get up and they make a list of what they're going to do. Now, on this list, and it doesn't have to be detailed, because listen, I got a program on my work computer that I got to keep an eye on my time. Okay. That it has, it's like a long list of stuff that I need to do. There's no way on God's green earth at this, in my carnality, in my flesh, that I can get that list done in one day. I know that, okay? But this is what highly productive, successful people do, is they will make a list, and the top 2 things on their list will be something that they know they can get done that day. What can that be? I don't know. It's different for everybody. But what happens when you do that is that on that list, you are able to cross something off your list, and you're like, I did it. I was successful today. We need to do this day by day. Like I say, I'm talking to myself here. Lord, okay, I need to make a list each morning and start with the thing that you know you can get done. Instead of having 25 big projects and then you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. I know that has now painted a bright picture in your head of what that looks like. And I want God to bring it to your remembrance as you're like running throughout the day, to be like, am I a chicken with its head cut off right now? Because I kind of feel like I am. So what do? We stop. We have a moment with God. And we ask God, what do you want me to do right now? Because I feel like I'm not getting anything done. I'm running. I'm tired. I feel unproductive. What would you suggest I do? Did you know, just having that moment with God, and then shut your mouth and listen? That's a novel idea. And that's hard for us busybodies as well, because it's emails, it's conversations, it's phone calls, it's running. And then we stop and we're like, okay, God, I want to hear your voice. Okay, God, is that you talking? Hello, God. And he's like, okay, just take a breath, shut your mouth, and I'm speaking to you, but you can't hear me because you won't stop talking. You guys, I have no idea where this is coming from. And it's probably, here's my suspect of where this message is coming from, is what I'm finding is most of the messages that I've been sharing have been for me the following week. Because this is what I do. I post the video, and then before I record a new video the following week, I listen to last week's video, and I'm listening to myself last week going, doggone, that's really good. And so I'm guessing this probably may be for me, but I know it's for one of you. I have no doubt that it's for one of you. Praise God. So moments with God, moments of being rooted and grounded in God's love for us, and moments of knowing, you know what, even if I don't get the 25 projects done on my list today, God loves me. He is so well pleased with me. And so I'm just going to take my time and I'm going to do it right. I'm going to get stuff done and I'm going to enjoy the moments of my life. Man, you know, if we get to a place where we're laying on our deathbed, are we going to look back and be like, you know what? I wish I would have ran harder. I wish I would have spent less time with my family. I wish I would have, spent more time at work and spent more time doing emails. No, nobody says that. Because that's not what life is about. No, most people on their deathbed all have the common thing of, I wish I would have spent more time with my family. And what is that? That's moments. You guys, I've had some amazing moments this week with my family. Some really good and some not so good. And that's okay, but they're moments. And guess what I'm going to remember as I leave here are the good moments. Because while I'm in those good moments, I'm consciously aware I'm going to remember this moment. And so what does that have to do with the tea in China? Or the price of tea in China? I think that's terrible. What does that have to do with your everyday life? What that has to do with is because I've had these amazing moments with my family as a whole or with individuals in my family. That's what I hold on to and I remember. And then maybe next week I'm feeling frustrated or I don't know what it could be, but my mind will then go back to, oh yeah, that was an awesome moment. That was a really good moment. To encourage me. Yeah, that was awesome when my brother said this. Oh, it was great when my mom and dad said that. And those are the things that keep us going. And so then when I think about coming back here to visit family, I'm not stuck on the bad moments. No, I'm stuck on the good moments. I'm saying moments a lot because it's pretty powerful. And Abram, maybe the last 10 minutes of this program, I don't even have 10 minutes. The last 8 minutes, we're going to see another moment between Abram and God. Okay, so I will actually talk about something I intended to talk about. And so if we go back to Genesis, I left off with the last moment of where Lot and Abram separate. And I know Abram was probably frustrated. He was probably like, oh man, what is this? And then he took the good piece of land. Abram was probably frustrated. And then he had a moment with God. And God said, lift up now thine eyes, Abram. And he says, take a look from where you are, northward, southward, eastward, westward. I am going to give you all the land. So I left last week with whatever you feel like has been stolen from you, God's saying, I'm going to give you what was stolen and all of it. Not just the portion that was stolen, but all of it. Praise God. So that was one moment, and then there comes a war. And Abram goes through some stuff, and then he encounters Melchizedek. Goodness gracious. And he gives him an offering, and then he has another moment. Abram has another moment with God. Okay, and so let's take a look at this moment. So it's in Genesis chapter 15, verse 1, and it says, after these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, fear not. Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. Wow. Okay. Well, I got 6 minutes to share with you what I feel like the Lord just dropped in my heart. Abram just made a huge offering to the priest, Melchizedek. He just gave a huge offering away, and I'm wondering if, we look at these stories, we look at these moments, I'm wondering if maybe Abram was thinking, man, I gave a lot away, and it was of my own goods. And God comes to him and says, Abram, I am your exceeding great reward. Who of you watching right now, you are not seeing God as your exceeding great reward? What is your reward? Money? What is your reward? Health in your body? Well, that is all good. But see, it's only yours because of God and His mercy and His grace. If we could view God for who He is, just like I talked about last week about God's your boss, and your current job is your assignment, and God's way of being able to bless you with financial blessing. But see, God is your exceeding great reward. What does that look like? He is our exceeding great reward, because no matter what, if you were to be kicked out of your house and lose all your money, God is your great reward. God is the one who is going to supply your needs. God is going to cause you to make a supernatural connection with someone who's going to help you get back on your feet. God is our reward, our exceeding great reward. And what does He preempt that statement with? Fear not. Fear not. Why on earth would we have any fear of the future? The only reason we would have fear of our future is because we don't see God as our exceeding great reward. No, we see our future as circumstances and hardship and, or just the unknown. Because we want to know it all. We want to know everything. We want to know how it's going to play out, Lord. We want to know what's this going to look like in a month? What's it going to look like in a week? What's it going to look like in a year, Lord? Man, it's hard to tell. And then, you listen to the TV, or, dear Jesus, I pray you don't listen to mainstream media because you're just being fed lies. But if you listen to any of that stuff too much and not balance it with being rooted and grounded in God's love, then you are going to enter into fear. And this is what God continually says to us throughout the Word. In every moment that either an angel appears on the scene, or God appears on the scene, or Jesus appears on the scene, what is the first thing out of their mouth? Fear not. Isn't that interesting? It may seem to me, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I can see from all these stories, all these moments where God, Jesus, or the Holy Spirit, or an archangel, anytime they come on the scene, the first thing out of their mouth is, fear not. What are we doing walking in fear? It is killing us. It is killing us. And so God's saying, fear not, Abram. And He's saying to you today, fear not. I am your exceeding great reward. So it doesn't matter. All this other stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I love Andrew Womack. He says, when we had the Great Recession in 2009, which, man, whatever. Everything's a Great Recession. Everything is a killer virus. Everything is it's so dramatic. We are so lascivious, which is ruled by our emotions in this day and age. But during 2009, Andrew's like, I just choose not to participate in it. And you're like, well, that's impossible. How can you say such things? You can say such things because you're rooted and grounded in God's love for you. You understand that God is your exceeding great reward, that God is my boss. It's not my job that is my source. God's my source. God ain't going nowhere. He'll never leave me nor forsake me. So why would I think that, if I lose this job, if I do this, what if? I'm being transparent with you. I get into this stuff too. And I'm sitting here thinking, as God just dropped this in my heart, fear not, I'm your exceeding great reward. We get into this. And it's not what Jesus died for us to have. This was an inferior covenant. Now, instead of God speaking to us from the outside in, God is on the inside of us. He's placed all power and authority on the inside of us. The same Spirit that rose Jesus from the dead is dwelling on the inside of us. And we have the authority and the availability to just tap right into raising from the dead power, dwelling on the inside of us. We don't even have to wait for an audible word from God. We've got a whole bunch of words from God, and that's my point. The majority of the words that were verbally spoken from God, fear not. Fear not. I am your exceeding great reward. These are what moments can do for us in our life. But if we're not thinking about it, if we're just running around like a chicken with our head cut off, maybe that'll be the description of my teaching today, is chicken with your head cut off. It's a bloody ordeal, folks. Yeah, it's messy, it's bloody, and it is helter-skelter. I'm telling you, when that body of a chicken without its head takes off running, blood squirting, it's running, it's crashing, it's falling down, and some of us, that's what our lives look like, and it is just not how it should be. No, we walk around cool, calm, and collected. Does it mean we always walk in a straight line? No, because that's not how God operates. No, we go over here and we connect with this person, but we're cool, calm, and collected. We should not be falling apart like a crazy person. We should not be entering into fear. Why? Because the giver of good gifts, the God that is love, dwells on the inside of us, and because I'm rooted and grounded in God's love, then I can walk into any situation cool, calm, and collected. And I can speak out. You know, I love that story with Paul when he's on the ship and they've been in this storm for a long time. I mean, like, they're throwing stuff overboard, trying to lighten the load. Like, there is pure panic, chaos, and a storm. And Paul stands up, and they're all ears at this point, because they're just like, we're going to die. And he stands up and he says, fear not, for an angel has come and spoke to me. And he has told me that no one here will die as long as you stay on the ship. But see, the first thing out of his mouth is fear not. Is that you in the situation, or are you the one panicking? We have the Prince of Peace on the inside of us. When we walk into a room, we bring peace with us. Is that how we see ourselves? And if you don't, that's totally fine. That's why I'm sharing these messages, so that I want you to be rooted and grounded in God's love, so then you can walk into a room and you can know before you walk into the room, when I walk in, I bring the resurrection power of God with me. Nothing shakes me. Nothing moves me. I do not walk in fear, because I know who I am and who dwells on the inside of me. Not because I earned it, not because I deserve it. In fact, I really do not deserve it. Praise God. And I'm fully aware how much I do not deserve this peace, this lack of fear, this power that's been placed on the inside of me. It's a gift. It is a gift. Are you having moments with God? I don't know. I could label this, I never label the video until after I upload it, so we'll see what it's labeled. I mean, it's more on moments again, and but I think I might go with chicken with your head cut off. I think that's a good title, or a good description anyway. So since I'm here, things are going to probably look a little bit different. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to have time to get all the little fancy lower thirds on here about about my YouTube channel. But if you would like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I think that'd be awesome. You can share, you can subscribe. If you hit subscribe and the little bell, you will get a notification each and every time I post a new video. Otherwise, you can plan on a new video each and every Sunday morning here on my YouTube channel. You can find me on Facebook, not doing anything there, but you can find me there. Like me, follow me, because at some point I am going to start doing something on there. I think. I'm saying that by faith. And or you can send me a text message, give me a call at 970-919-0459. Those of you that comment, I know I'm a couple weeks behind in responding, but trust me, I will respond. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. And those of you that have texted me, I will get back to you as well. So I so appreciate you guys interacting with me in that fashion. And I thank you so much for your patience that I don't get back to you right in a timely fashion. I really need to work on it, but these are something that I just uplift, or that I upload for you guys and for your benefit, because I want to see your lives changed. So have an awesome week, and I think that's it. We'll see you next Sunday. Bye.